Hello, my name is Diana, and I've made this video for two main reasons. Reason one is to help you understand better how teaching and learning a foreign language such as English works. And the second reason is to answer a question I've been asked quite a few times, which is how do we at Study for Success Educational Center teach languages? In order to do this, I'm going to talk about two main, but not the only, methods for teaching a foreign language, which are grammar translation and communicative method. Let's talk about the grammar translation method first. As the name suggests, it relies heavily on translating from and into your mother tongue. So you have the text, you read it, you translate it, you write out the words that you don't know, and then you memorize them. Secondly, it gives a huge place to memorizing grammar rules and then doing the exercises. Regarding the vocabulary, as I've already said, teachers who use this approach, they often ask their students to memorize long lists of words of vocabulary which are not necessarily connected with each other. And this is probably one of the oldest approaches and methods for teaching languages we know. This method is widely used all around Armenia, and it has certain advantages and it works for some people. However, it has several drawbacks, which I'm going to discuss later. For now, let's turn to communicative method. As the name suggests, the main philosophy, the main idea behind this approach is that language has been created for communication. You need the language in order to say something, to pass the information, or to understand when people talk to you. And from this point of view, if you say something in English, for example, you don't pause for very long, and the person you're talking to understands you, but while you speak you make several mistakes, then it's not a big problem, because the main aim is communication, and your communication was successful. Regarding grammar, communicative method doesn't discard it. If you are taught using a communicative method, then you will have to learn grammar rules and you will need to do exercises. However, learning grammar rules is not your objective. Your objective is successful communication. So grammar is treated as a servant to communication, not as the mistress. And it is taught in meaningful context, meaning you understand the situation in which you need to use this structure and not the other one, and how the meaning will change if instead of saying, I was working on this task yesterday, you say, I finished this task yesterday. Regarding the vocabulary, again, it doesn't discard memorizing, and you will need to do some work here. However, vocabulary is presented closely connected and linked to the topic you need this vocabulary to talk about. For example, education or environment or hobbies or this sort of stuff. And also you have the chance to practice these words in meaningful context, meaning you are asked to talk about that topic, and as you talk about a certain topic, you use all the vocabulary that you've just learned. Finally, unlike the grammar translation method, which mostly emphasizes reading and writing, communicative method covers all four language skills, which are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And this is why when people come to me and say, what method do you use to teach English? I need to develop my speaking, or I don't like grammar rules, I'm not very good at memorizing them. These people mostly come from grammar translation background, this is how they imagine languages are mostly being taught. But the truth is that in modern methodology, in modern teaching, the communicative method, developing all 4 language skills, together with teaching grammar and vocabulary, is used. And all the modern resources, modern course books, they follow this approach. That's why if you take a course in a language center like this, you will do activities covering all these areas. Finally, I'd like to talk about translation and why it might be dangerous to rely on it heavily. First of all, as somebody said, using translation constantly while trying to communicate in a foreign language is like catching your ear like this. It makes the whole process longer and more slowly. Because when you see an object such as a table, first thing that pops up in your mind is the Armenian word, which is seran, and then you remember the translation for seran, which is table, and so you get this triangle, instead of getting the direct connection between the word table and the object seran. Of course, at earlier stages of learning a language, this is inevitable. You can't help it, but you need to aim at getting to the point where whenever you see the object, you get the English word in certain context and the Armenian word in other contexts. Often it works it works like, it seems like there is a button in your head that just switches you from one language to another. For example, if you're speaking English, you are in that English part of your brain, so when you see the object, the English word pops up, and when you speak Armenian, you see the object and the Armenian word pops up. The second danger connected with using translation is that it limits your progress. If you rely on translation all the time, you will only reach a certain level in your progress, and then you will be stuck. You won't be able to move any further. Why? Because you will be using an Armenian structure and you will put English words into it. This will result in so-called Armenian English, where your speech doesn't sound very natural and sometimes people can't even understand what you're trying to say. This is all for today, and now I would like to know about your experience and your opinion. Which of these methods was used when you were taught to when you were taught English, if you were? And secondly, which of these methods do you think would be more effective and productive for your further learning? Thank you very much, and I will see you in my next video.